Hello, and welcome to Lit by Moonlight, where it's not a phase to marry your brother.
I hope that's a phase.
It's not.
Umberlin, did you marry your brother?
Yeah, what makes this worse is I don't even have one. I mean, I have a stepbrother, but he's like 30 and married already. So, missed my shot!
Alright, today we are talking about Our Flag Means Death, Season 1, Episode 5, The Best Revenge is Dressing Well.
And sometimes it is.
Yeah.
I said. Wearing suckers for earrings. All right. So, Kaitlin.
Yeah.
This episode is, and I will spoil the remainder of the episode by telling you, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So, in this episode, Ed is teaching Stede the ropes and maybe vice versa, and they decide to raid this ship. And while they're on the ship, they find an invitation to this fancy soiree on another ship. And Stede is not super interested in going. He's never cared for these things. He's lived this life for a long time. But Ed, who fancies the finer things, spoiler alert, he's super interested in going. So they end up all heading over there. Ed, Stede, Alu, and Frenchie. And whilst over there, I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again because it makes sense. A fuckery ensues. Yay! And while all of that is going on, Frenchie and Alu are essentially conducting an actual pyramid scheme, which
so good.
Arguably is the best bit ever.
100%. Yeah.
And it ends in flames. It all goes up in flames in the end, so to speak.
And so does our hearts.
Yeah. Ow! So, Kaitlin, what hooked you when it came to this episode?
I think what really intrigued me about this episode was we got more Ed backstory with his mom and how he didn't really grow up with all of the finer things that he now gets to experience with Stede. So I really liked that. It was just like one little scene, but it was just like a little insight into him and his character. And I love how he still has this red silk that his mom gave him, and just the fact that he's carried that with him this whole time. I think is really special.
Owie.
And it shows, I feel like, how even though he's had this Blackbeard persona, he's had Edward really tucked close to his heart this entire time because of the red silk that he keeps hidden. I never thought I'd be so emotional about a piece of fabric in my life, but here we are.
It hurts.
Yeah. What was your hook?
That definitely was one of the things, because I was like, oh, we're going to get Blackbeard's story as much as it seems like we're getting Stede's. Mm-hmm. That's really fascinating to me. Yeah. I think it shows that it's starting to look at this point for me like, okay, looks like Ed's another person that's higher on the call sheet in this show, which I it's not that I wasn't anticipating that, I just didn't know how big of a part he would play. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, I was like, ooh, okay, we care about him a lot, we're learning a little more about him, I'm interested.
I'm interested.
Another thing that I really liked is just seeing Izzy and Lucius's dynamic when Lucius gets lowered down to clean the barnacles off the ship, and then everything that ensues after that between them is, I think, one of my favorite dynamics in this entire season. It's
hilarious.
It truly is. I really, really appreciated their whole dynamic where they have kind of this enemies thing going on.
Yeah, I think they're funny because I feel like Lucius clearly intimidates Izzy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like because Lucius will just say and do whatever he wants, and Izzy just doesn't know what to do with that information.
Yeah, they're evenly matched, which I think Izzy wasn't expecting from this little English boy. So
yeah. And I feel like we saw that in the previous episode and there's a really good meta about this on Tumblr that I'll hopefully find again and link it in our episode description, about how Izzy calls the crew useless. Yeah. And yet he and Lucius always come to the same conclusion. Lucius knows this as much as Izzy does. Right. And yet Izzy still has this perception of oh, they're all so stupid.
Yeah.
And it was way better said than anything I tried to say, if I said anything at all just now. So hopefully I'll find that post and I'll link it so you can read it for yourselves, and the cool dynamic between those two characters.
I'm obsessed with them. Yeah. They have kind of this good cop, bad cop thing going on. Something that I enjoyed. We were watching Benji and Rizzo, the Pink Podcast the other night, and they were reacting to Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it seems like the cop in Wednesday in that show. Like, it's not really noticeable, but they do kind of have this,
it was really funny.
Oh, you situation going on. And it almost seems like Izzy and Lucius had the same thing going on, which I kind of love. Like, I'm really, really, really want to see more of that.
Yeah.
In season 2.
Yeah.
So definitely really enjoyed that. What was your favorite part?
You already know. You already know. It's the you wear fine things while scene. Oh my God. Changed me as a person. So when I was first watching this, I remember watching it being like, oh, this is sweet. But like, what really got me is like when they turn around and they look back at each other.
Yeah, that's
I was
the part.
like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like,
I
was like, hey, what's all this then? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I just think it's just, first of all, the moonlit background, and just the touch of, I read somewhere where it was either David Jenkins or like one of the set designers said like how they had the image of the moon be like just really big because that's just how it looks to them in this moment, and which is just like but I bite snails. Just like that backdrop already is just so romantic and beautiful in a way, and just the fact that like Stede is taking essentially what I think represents Ed's heart and just like handling it so delicately and like putting it out in the open for everyone to see. And essentially like bringing out more of Edward Teach from Ed and letting him like be more of that personality than and putting like Blackbeard in the backseat for a bit, which I think is really sweet. And then just the fact that he so effortlessly flirts with Ed and has no idea that he's doing it. Like, you wear fine things well is a line. Like, it's a good one. So, and just the way that you see Ed like be like, I'm gonna kiss him. Oh nope, he has no idea what's going on. I'll just pat him on the shoulder there.
Yeah, that seems to be Ed's go-to move, is just like heterosexual pat in the back.
Like good one, pal.
You know? So, I'm with you there. Wow,
so good. And just like it was already such a perfect scene, but like just the fact that they look back at each other, and not just one of them, they both look, and they're just like clearly longing for each other,
angsty.
But like Stede doesn't know what's going on yet, but it's just wowza.
There is for Stede at the very least a fondness for Ed,
100%,
but it's so hard, I think, from at this point to conceptualize like what that actually is.
Yeah, because I don't think he definitely hasn't had like a friend like Ed before.
Yeah.
So he's probably just like, this is a friend.
Wow, what a nice friend. I've never had a friend be so nice to me before. It's like really nice.
It's really cool.
So that's definitely up there on my list. Yeah. I love that scene. I think it's one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire show, if not ever in the entire world. Yeah. I love that you mentioned the moon, because I think it's like, first of all, I feel like any type of metaphor concerning the moon, any type of conceptualization of the moon relative to a person, two people who are in love. You know, more than that, I think when I remember from watching this the first time, is just that like when Ed moves a little closer to Stede, like, you know, kind of like, are we gonna kiss right now moment? I remember I was watching with my partner and we both went Because I think for anyone at home who's still questioning at this point what might be going on between them, this is like a very absolute confirmation of what is going to happen. Yeah. I mean, for some of us, it's not, because we're so used to things like that happening in television shows and having it be absolutely nothing for some reason. Right. Which feels gaslighty, but also like, okay, fine, maybe I just interpreted the thing wrong. This is not that situation, you know? And I think like when you see that, you're like, oh,
are they aware? Do they know?
Yeah, like, whoa. So there's that, but I had actually a couple this episode, because it was really hard for me to choose. Yeah. When they're back in the boat together at the very end, and Alawande and Frenchie are paddling, and they're just in the back. It reminds me so much of like when your parents drive you home from your first date in middle school. Oh yeah,
like,
I never thought about it like that. They're just in the back, like wow, like remembering what they just went through, and it's beautiful out, and it's dark out, and the moon's out. Just. I love that so much, because I think it's also just another scene where you see how deeply in love with Stede, Ed truly is, where he's like, wow, you know, when you really let go, you let go, you know?
Yeah.
So that I really appreciated.
Yeah, I like that when we see them, like, Ed is just staring at Stede, and Stede's just, like, in his happy little, like, place, just, like, not even paying attention, and Ed's just, like...
infatuating stare. Yeah.
Like, oh, so good. I love it when, like, one character is, like, looking at another character, but the other one's not aware of it, and it's just... Wow.
Yeah. So that scene, and then another one that I really liked, and I don't know, well, actually, I will say this is definitely my favorite scene in the episode. It is when Izzy walks in and sees Wee John napping, and Wee John says, "Be a dear and make me one of those, will you?"
Yeah.
And Izzy's holding the teacup.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, Lucius and Black Pete get up from essentially having sex on the floor.
Yeah.
And
good for them.
that scene makes me laugh so hard because you've got Con O'Neill improvising this, like, oh, daddy.
Yeah.
Like, for no reason, then just kind of like shrugging, like, I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
And it's not even like part of his character. That's just Con.
That's just
like,
him going,
I don't know. This is what I
did.
I just did that. So that scene, I think, if it's not my favorite in the episode, it's got to be one of my favorites in the show.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
When we talk about standout characters in a minute here, I'm going to give all my praise to Con O'Neill because I think that Izzy just kind of carries this episode.
Yeah.
And some others. And then finally, I just want to give an honorable mention to Stark Revelations because Kristen, Schaal, and Nick Kroll, first of all, if either of them are involved at all in any show that I'm watching, I know it's going to be good.
Yes.
Secondly, they killed me in that scene. I think there's some banger lines that they have that I'm going to talk about in a second here, but they really did it for me this episode.
They're so like the second I saw them, I was like, oh, of course they're in this because they're like they're two actors who are kind of part of like that whole group that like Rhys Darby and Taika Waititi are in, like with like Jermaine Clement and like Brett McKenzie and all of that stuff. Like they're all like in each other's shows.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so fun. So once they popped up, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. This is gonna be fun.
Them.
Great.
Yeah, they're excellent.
Yeah.
So, Kaitlin, we talked a little bit about our favorite parts. Tell me a little bit about your favorite quotes.
The first standout was when Izzy says to Lucius, "You think you're cute," and Lucius goes, "Actually, I think I'm just so, but I carry myself like I'm cute." Like, what an icon for that, because it's such a banger line. I remember like laughing so hard. I think I replayed that line like a couple times when I first watched it because like that was so funny.
It's a good one. It gives Pig like, do you remember like those T-shirts you used to wear in elementary school, and they'd be like, "I know I'm cute," or just something like that on it. That's the vibe it gives me in the best way.
He's just like, I know.
Yeah.
And another one that I love comes from Frenchie, which is, "Oh, there's such dicks about spoons," which is so funny. I love him so much, and I can't not mention Nick Kroll's delivery of "how grubby."
How grubby.
I say that often.
Yeah.
It's just another one that just lives with me and run free in my head.
How grubby? Yeah.
How grubby.
That's on my list too.
Yeah. What about you?
I also like that following up that line, Kristen Schaal goes, "You just inherit it like a normal person," about like money versus like doing it through like embezzlement.
Yeah.
So that's another good one. Another Kristen Schaal line was, "Because you're my fucking brother, Gabriel. It's disgusting."
Yeah.
When he asks about why their love should be forbidden. Those were my two favorites. And then obviously You Wear Fine Things Well takes the cake. It's like one of those, you know, we talk a lot about in previous episodes of our pod from last season how we love alternative ways of saying I love you. And guess what? That's one.
That is one way to say I love you.
Did you have any standout characters this episode?
Oh, Frenchie. 100%. He was such a delight. What I love about Frenchie is that he can really mold himself to any situation.
Yeah.
Which I think is super interesting because, like, depending on, like, who's around, he kind of, like, he's always himself, but he kind of, like, changes how he interacts with other people.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot in this episode where he's just like, I know how this lot works. I used to work in the service. I know like how we all have to be.
Yeah.
I know how to get over them, like, and how to like take all their money. I'm gonna invent pyramid schemes, which I think is really iconic of him.
Yes. I love Frenchie because I think under his conspiratorial tendencies, there is immeasurable wiseness. Like, he knows how to mold himself to every situation, but he also, like, is so good at playing people.
Yeah.
And I I want Joel Fry to have his flowers in this episode and just in general.
He commits to the bit.
Yeah, he does.
He really does.
Who else?
Also Izzy, just because I thought it was really funny how stressed he was.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire episode. Lucius was iconic for just, not taking any shit from Izzy.
Yeah.
And then also the whole scene where he and Fang, like he sketches Fang. And I just think it's like that reveal of him like sketching not his entire body, but just the dick.
Just his penis,
was
yeah.
So funny.
So funny.
And I just love how casually John's just like, wow, like you actually captured a really good likeness there. Yeah. Just like, they're also just like chill about everything, about everyone.
I know. Yeah, I think, I really feel like Izzy is my top character this episode.
Yeah.
Colonial just carries when Pete and Lucius stand up from the floor and they're kind of having this conversation after Izzy leaves and they're like, oh yeah, like that was really nice. Like just kind of remarking on the sex they just had. And Izzy just goes, no! Like, in the room.
So funny because it's just
screaming.
in the distance. It's so good.
And then in relation to that, when John says that angry little fecker with Izzy, like that really gets me. I wish I could articulate how much I love Colonial in this character. I think like I think when I started this show, I felt like I was probably going to hate Izzy, but truly he has to be one of my favorite characters simply on account of the way that Khan plays him and just the fact that he's such a dick, like beyond like the realm of like needing to be. He's really special. Like there's more I want to say, but I can't find the words. So check out my Medium essay about it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm never gonna write that. But no, he really carried this episode for me. He's
just fun to watch.
He's everything. Yeah. So Kaitlin, how did the end treat you?
I'm unwell. I'm unwell. Like, what really also gets me with like just talking about like the Moonlight scene is just Nasia number 5 playing. And I remember like acknowledging the fact I was like, wait, they have a theme? Yeah. Like, because this is like the second or third time this is played. I think it played a couple times in the previous episode, but then it plays again, and it's so deliberate in its use. Like the second that the red silk is placed in his little pocket, it starts playing, and it's just like, oh,
that's his heart.
This is deeper than I thought the show was going to be. So I really like that. I also like that it ended with the introduction of another badminton. Yeah. Which is so funny to me. I love the fact that this actor has played 2 people in this season already, and just the fact that like we get this narrative of the English haven't forgotten that they killed one of their people, so they're going to come after them. Right. Also that they called them the cat bandits. Yeah, the cat bandits. I think it's really funny. Right. And because I remember like first watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, these guys. Yeah. This is probably an issue for them. And so it kind of was like, okay, so there's even more going on than just like you don't even think about the fact that Ed said last episode, like, oh yeah, we'll kill him. Right. It's not even acknowledged. So I think it's good to bring in like, hey, you have this conflict still that's happening. So. Yeah.
Everything is not okay, actually. So for me, I think that, and I said this before, but I consider the very end of this episode, not just the introduction of the second badminton, to be kind of a turning point, because obviously now we see that there's kind of more to Ed and Stede's relationship than maybe just like 2 guys helping each other out, or like even a friendship. And I think it also is a great opportunity for Rhys Darby and Taika Waititi to showcase their immeasurable chemistry. Yeah. Like, I just remember thinking in that moment, like, are they married in real life? Like, not really, but like I definitely got the sense watching that, like, wow, like these 2 people really deeply care about each other, and they've only known each other for like a couple of days. And not in the sense that like sometimes you read like a young adult novel or you watch a TV show where it seems like maybe that's not what's happening, but somehow all of a sudden these 2 are together, and it's not really like somehow I don't know, it feels like they were able to capture a slow burn over the course of 2 to 3 episodes without really doing that. Like it didn't feel like we were waiting years for them to kind of see each other that way, but it did. In the best way.
I don't think the show would have worked if anyone else played those 2 characters.
I agree.
Because I think their chemistry as friends in real life is what helps like them like drive the show. Why are you laughing?
Just like Taika and like you turn the camera and so it's like Ryan Reynolds in like a wig.
Yeah.
You wear fine things well.
Yeah. I don't think it would have worked if it was two people who had just met each other. Like I think sometimes it works in shows for if you're going to draw it out and like these two people just met and you see them like learning like more about each other in real life and on screen. But like I just feel like Ed and Stede have such a deep emotional connection that I don't think we would have gotten if it was anybody other than Rhys and Taika.
Yeah. And I
think that's cool.
I love that too. And it's funny because whenever I think about everything that happens from the very beginning of them meeting each other, from like that love at first sight moment where our prayer plays. When I think about that, I always imagine the writers just like nodding.
Yeah.
Because we're all like, huh? Really? And they're just like, yeah. Yeah. Don't worry. Yeah. It's going there. Don't worry. Like, don't worry about it. Like, don't question this. This is where it's going.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because it's to the point where almost when you watch it the first time, you almost can't. It's not that you can't enjoy what's going on between them because it's real and it's beautiful and it's well done. It's like you can't enjoy it because you don't expect it, and because I feel like we've all been led astray so many times before with so many different television shows that when you watch it again and again, you know, like we are now for whatever time, the 8th, 100th time, who knows?
Yeah.
We can really appreciate it because now you know, and it's like a really valid thing to now know that this is the direction the show is going in.
Right.
And it's not queer baiting, you know?
Right.
That's really comforting. So I think we've both genuinely showcased our praise for this episode. But I think before we can sign off for the day and jump on to the next one, we need to put this episode in our tier list.
Our tier list!
Kaitlin, what are our tiers on our tier list?
Our tier list levels are at the tippy top is made me eat all of my house's drywall and the accompanying nails.
Nom nom.
Made me mentally ill, affectionate. Neutral, like my pH levels. Made me mentally ill, foreboding. And finally, at the bottom, Riverdale core.
Riverdale core.
So where did you put this on your tier list?
This one made me mentally ill affectionate.
Yeah.
I'm going to say. I would say that it made me eat all of my house's drywall and the accompanying nails.
Yeah.
But there are crazier things that happen that make me do that. And I definitely want to reserve at least one episode in this season for just that tier. But I will say that this episode made me, I want to say it's kind of in between. Like it made me mentally ill affectionate, and I kind of started nibbling on the drywall.
Yeah.
But I didn't finish because I wanted to make sure I saved my appetite for later episodes.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way because at first I was like, oh, I'm eating the drywall. But it's mainly just because of obviously the you wear fine things well scene. That's all that like made me go like, this looks tasty.
Yeah.
You know? Like maybe I'll have some of this. But I completely agree with you that like there are other things that happen later on that just have me chomping at it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm mentally ill nibbling on the drywall affectionately.
A little. We're kind of in the in between.
We're secretly in between those two tiers.
That's
but yeah.
so valid. All right. So thank you for listening to or watching Lit by Moonlight.
Yay!
Tune in next week when we review season 1, episode 6, The Art of Fuckery.
The Art of Fuckery.
Yes.
Yay!
All right.
Bye.
Bye.